Hi, I'm Megan Price, and welcome to the NBA Carousel, a Sideline Sports Network production, proudly sponsored by Score No Score app, available for download in Apple and Google Play stores. Also sponsored by Manscaped, and check out the Inscriber online magazine where you can get all your culture, technology, and sports news provided by Sideline Sports. But let's go ahead and jump straight into the show. We have our first rep, Jordan Long, who will be covering the Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets. Hi, Jordan.
Hey, Megan.
How are you?
I'm good. Both my teams are on winning streaks. Well, we know the Suns have been hot this year, and finally the Nuggets are getting a little hot.
You guys are. Well, which team do you want to start with first?
We'll start with the Nuggets, and then we'll move to the Suns.
Sounds good. Now, let's start with the game last night, just because that was brutal. You guys ended up beating the reigning champs by 36 points, 136 to 100. Tell me about this game.
Really, it was the defense of the Nuggets. I mean, they held the Bucks to 47.4% from the field and 10 threes. But Giannis, he's going to get his points inside, 29 points. Drew Holiday, 14 points. But I was surprised to see that Aaron Gordon was the leading scorer with 24 points. Jokic did his thing, triple-double, 18 points, 15 assists, and 9 rebounds. But really, besides all the scoring, was the turnovers. You look at it, 15 turnovers to the Bucks. The Nuggets committed 9. That was the difference, really. It was the fact that the Nuggets protected the ball and the Bucks didn't. But, Giannis did his thing, which he's always going to do down low. But, we shut everyone else down. Yeah, Drew Holiday had 14 points. But otherwise, after that, no one did much.
Interesting. And have we had a Boogie Cousins sighting yet?
We have, but he didn't play in this game because of ankles. I guess he had an ankle injury, but ever since he came to the Nuggets, this was the only game he's missed. And apparently he's had this lingering issue. Whether or not that's why the Bucks let him go, I have no idea.
And looking like they were missing some center depth the last night in that game. Now, even without Cousins, Nuggets definitely have some of that going on for them. Previously, on Friday, you guys played the Pelicans, came out on top on that one as well, 116 to 105. And then Wednesday, you guys played the Nets, and you played them in Brooklyn and also won that game. It was a little bit closer, 124 to 118. Let's talk about that game.
Well, actually, both teams were coming off a back-to-back. But again, Jokic did his thing, 26 points, 10 rebounds. Barton, 21 points and 10 rebounds. Nice to see Will Barton stepping up. But if you look at the Nets, they didn't have, James Harden. They didn't have Kevin Durant for whatever reason. But the fact of the matter is Patty Mills stepped up, scored 21 points. But really was the bench production. I have talked about how the second unit doesn't do a whole lot, but they had 51 points in that game. And Cousins actually played in that game coming off the bench with 13 points. And I really do like the acquisition of DeMarcus Cousins. I know it's a 10-day contract, but I think he's a physical presence that we need down low. As for the shooting, though, Nuggets shot 47.2% and hit 15 threes. So that's basically how they won that game. And they out-rebounded the Brooklyn Nets. We know Brooklyn, even though they didn't have, James Harden or Kevin Durant, they can still get second chance points, and we didn't allow that with 48 rebounds to the Nets 38.
So coming up this week, you guys are going to play the Timberwolves tomorrow, the Jazz on Wednesday, the Pelicans on Friday, and then the Nets again on Sunday. Thoughts on any of those games? I know that we saw that Ingles had an injury on the Jazz, so he will be out for the rest of the year because of an ACL injury. I'm not sure if anybody else saw that, but it was brutal. Hope he's able to get well. So with that injury happening to the Jazz, do you feel like the Jazz is still the toughest game of the week, or do you feel like that falls to one of the other teams?
I think it's a tie between Brooklyn and Utah. Utah's still a good team with Donovan Mitchell, Bojan Bogdanovic, Rudy Gay, and Rudy Gobert. But then if you look at Brooklyn, we know that Kyrie's going to be able to play because I know he has the vaccination thing, but he can play away games, so that's going to be tough. And that's another shooter you have to guard if you're the Denver Nuggets. Plus, if Kevin Durant plays and James Harden, it's just an all-star team. So that's probably the harder of the games this week. But still, the Nuggets could easily go 2-2 or 3-1 in this stretch, especially since Joe Ingles will not play for Utah.
Right. You guys are sitting at the 5th seed right now, and looks like you guys are kind of trending up and finding your rhythm. Have we heard anything about Jamal Murray yet?
The last I heard is maybe by March, but all I know is he's been shooting during before the Nuggets come out in warmups, and he looks pretty good. I don't know if he's running or whatnot, but I know he's not jumping. But I think that once we get Jamal Murray gets back in March, this is going to be a team that nobody wants to play because you have Jamal Murray at the point, and you have Jokic, and you have Aaron Gordon. And, of course, if they keep Boogie Cousins on the bench, I mean, this is a scary team. Whether or not they'll go all the way, I don't think so, but at least win 1 or 2 rounds.
Okay. All right, well, let's slide over to your other team, the Phoenix Suns, who are by far the best team in the NBA right now. You guys are 40-9. That's your record. You're sitting in first in the West, but also first in the league. You guys played the Spurs yesterday. It was a really close game. We ended up losing by 5 points, but it was an excellent game with you guys. Then Friday, you guys played the Timberwolves and came out on top with that one, 134-124. Wednesday, you played the Jazz, also won that one, 105-97. And then on Monday, you guys played the Jazz also, 109-115. How long is your win streak going on right now for the Suns?
Right now it's at 10 games. So we'd like to make that a little bit longer here going into this week. But if you look at it, you guys almost stole that game, but it really came down to the fourth quarter. I mean, We outscored you guys 36-19. We were down 91-79. So you gave us a little bit of a scare. And it's nice to see that you guys are playing a pretty top team pretty well. So that's props to Popovich and that coaching staff.
Absolutely. We saw our first round draft pick, Josh Primo, who had 13 points also in that game. So nice to see him come in. He's not going to be a starter, obviously, but nice to see him be able to get some points and get some minutes in his rookie season. It's kind of tough whenever you're a rookie playing for the Spurs. You're not going to come in and start. That's just not how it works over there. But I think he fits in well with us, and he's an excellent shooter.
He is, and that's part of the reasons why you guys almost won that game, except for you had a couple of, breakdowns on defense and a little bit on offense in that fourth quarter, but you still gave us a scare. And that the player you were talking about is definitely going to live up to expectations. It's going to take him a while, and he looked good last night.
He absolutely did. What do you think was the toughest game of the week? Was it with the Jazz? Because I know y'all had that back-to-back with them, or do you feel like the Timberwolves was a tough game?
Honestly, I'm just going to go with the Spurs because it was the toughest game because of the fact we had to come back. The Jazz, honestly, they didn't have Donovan Mitchell or Rudy Gobert. And again, Mitchell and Gobert didn't play in the back-to-back. And in Minnesota, I mean, that was a 10-point game. But, Minnesota is the 8th seed. They're still trying to fight to, be in the play-in tournament. But I still have to go with the Spurs just because, when you're going down on a 9-game winning streak, you don't know if you're going to make it 10. And, especially in an 82-game season, we saw them win 17 in a row this year, but it was just like, well, are we still going to keep it going, keep the momentum? And obviously we did in the fourth quarter. We could have easily folded in that fourth quarter.
Coming up this week, you guys play the Nets tomorrow, and then you play the Hawks on Thursday, and then the Wizards on Saturday. Talk to me about what do you think you need to do to handle the Hawks and then the Wizards too, because the Wizards have kind of fallen off. Not fallen off, but they're not as hot as they were at the beginning of the season, but they're still an interesting team. Like, they're still capable of getting some wins.
They really are, but with the Hawks, you still have Trae Young, one of the best perimeter guys who can go inside, and he's still going to get those calls. So you got to play defense on him. The Wizards have been an up and down team. Again, still an NBA team, a team that you have to watch out for just because of their inside presence, their defense. So if we start missing shots and they get rebounds, they can take their fast breaks and actually put points up on us. But I still have to think that Atlanta's just the toughest one because of Trae Young and what he brings to the table.
Absolutely agree. Well, thank you so much, Jordan. Good luck on your games this week, and let everybody know where they can find you.
Thank you, Megan. Of course, you can find me here on the NBA Carousel doing mostly the Phoenix Suns and or the Denver Nuggets. You can find me on Twitter at SportsScoop1. Of course, read my blogs that I write Mondays through Fridays at sports-scoop.com.
Thanks, Jordan. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Will Vogel covering the Charlotte Hornets. Hi, Will.
Hey, Megan.
How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Like I was just saying with Jordan just a second ago, we played the Suns last night, and it was a really close game. So, I'm not one for the moral victories, but it still feels kind of good to play the best team in basketball and almost get it, So it just says we're kind of improving. And I know you know how that feels. Your team is steadily improving. So let's talk about the Hornets.
Yeah, what about them?
All right. Well, you guys played the Raptors on this past Tuesday. Unfortunately, that was an L, but the next game, you guys played the Pacers and scored 158 points to 126. Let's talk about that game.
Yeah, well, what more can you say? The Hornets set so many records. Most points in a game, 158 for our franchise record. This is all Hornets records. Points and a half, 87. Points through three quarters, 113. This was without Gordon Hayward at all, which is crazy. LaMelo Ball had a triple-double. Bridges had 22. Rozier had 20. Oubre had 39 off the bench, and he was 10 for 15 from three. Our field goal percentage was 58.1%. Our three-point field goal percentage was 53.3%. Our free throw percentage was 78.8%. So everything was on point that game.
Right, yeah. That's
so
crazy.
It's just insane.
Absolutely. Those shooting percentages are excellent right there. And then following up on Friday, you guys played the Lakers. Now, the Lakers were without James and without Davis, but you guys still came out with a win, 117 to 114. Now, talk to me about this game. Is there any areas do you feel like that you need some improvement on?
Yeah, I don't know what caused us to blow a lead. We barely held on at the end, but a win is a win, but still.
For sure.
I think we blew like a 20-something point lead, which is not good, especially against a team that doesn't have their main superstars, which could be dangerous down the road if we run into a team who's worse than us and just can sneak up on us anytime. But Bridges had 26, Ball and Rozier had 20. Ish Smith had 22 off the bench, but still, like, this Lakers team, of course, I'm not saying they're awful. They're just not in a great mood right now. They're not having the greatest season, but still, like, blowing a 20-point lead to a team, like I said, that's not as good as you and almost losing the game is a recipe for disaster.
Now, I could understand the score if James and Davis played, because I feel like that y'all are pretty kind of closely tiered teams as far, 7, 8.
If they did play, yes.
Right. Yeah. And we saw MJ's reaction. He got up and walked out before the end of the game.
Yeah, he exactly. He got up and walked out, and I was like, yeah, he's frustrated.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and then yesterday you guys played the Clippers, and they came out on top 115 to 90. And you got to shout out the Clippers, who are going through a ton of injury woes, and they're still managing to stay in playoff contention. They're not even in the play-in tournament contention. I think they're the 6th seed, or maybe they're the 7th seed. And they're still have some validity there, despite no Kawhi, despite no Paul George. Talk to me about yesterday. What do you think happened?
We just shot horribly. Pat Beverly went off. Which Pat Beverly's a good player and is all right. He's a pretty darn good player, but it's a bad loss for the Hornets. Not saying that the Clippers are bad. Like you said, they're the 6th seed, but like I was expecting us to go in and win at least by 10 plus points. But Ball and Plumlee had double doubles, which is good. Bridges had 18 points. Washington and Bootnight had 10 points off the bench. But still, we shot 32% from the field and 23% from three, which is never good.
Right.
And we didn't have Oubre for the Lakers game or the Clippers game because of an ankle sprain. And we didn't have Hayward for any of those games this week because of health and safety protocols. So hopefully this coming week we have our whole roster back. But still, if you have to beat the good teams to be successful in the NBA.
Absolutely. So coming up this week, you guys play the Celtics on Wednesday, and that will be in Boston. You play the Cavs on Friday, and then you play the Heat on Saturday. So a tough little stretch right there. Celtics are kind of getting some of their steam back. We've seen Jason Tatum kind of found his shot again. And then the Cavs, as we know, they're hot right now. They're like the number 5 seed. And they're just still maintaining. They've fought through injuries, and it seems like they're a little bit better constructed team than what we gave them credit for. And then Miami, as we know, Miami is an excellent, excellent team. So what do you think is going to have to happen in order for y'all to beat those teams?
Well, for the first part, we definitely have to be fully healthy. We need Gordon back. We need Oubre back. Like the Celtics, we beat them in Boston, but still you have to deal with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, 2 of the many great players in the league.
Right.
Cleveland, like you said, Darius Garland's having a great year. Evan Mobley's putting a great rookie year together. Jarrett Allen, this team is not it. No, going into this year, I thought this team was going to be mediocre, not this good.
Right.
They are one of the surprise teams of the year this year. And then look at Miami. You got Tyler Hero, who's having a great year this year. Jimmy Butler. They just got Bam Adebayo back.
Right.
They're hitting their stride when they want to. And I think I'm not sure. Last time I checked, they were the 1st seed in the East, but still, I
believe you're right. Let me look.
It's a tough week.
They are the number 1 seed.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's a tough week. These games are really going to challenge us and challenge us to get ready for. I know we're weeks and weeks away for playoff basketball. These are playoff bound teams.
Right. Okay, so if you need to be able to compete with playoff bound teams, do you think there's anything that your team is going to do, because we're about 10 days out from the trade deadline?
I've been saying this. As well as he's rebounding the ball, I would love to move Mason Plumlee.
Okay.
He's average. He's doing decent. He's getting blocks. He's getting rebounds. He's had double-digit rebound games. But I want a guy like Domantas Sabonis or like a good presence back to a guy. I heard this on the radio the other day, and I said, yes, I could use that on the carousel. I want a big man who can average a double-double per night almost.
Absolutely.
And Plumlee only puts up like maybe what I read mainly is like 5 points and like 10 rebounds. Yeah, 10 rebounds is great. But I want a guy who's back to the basket. Like, I know there's no more like actual big man anymore, but like I want a guy who's hard-nosed, will go to the paint, back down, fight for a layup, fight for like in the paint, get those rebounds, get those blocks, and get those points. And I just don't think Plumlee's the answer. But the problem is, what can we get from him?
Right. What would you have to give up in order to
like
get
maybe
like
PJ Washington and Plumlee, or PJ Washington Plumlee in a first, or PJ Washington Plumlee in a second. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. It would have to be something in order to get Sabonis. I'm sure that he's a highly sought after player. And, I understand your woes, because the same thing I was saying earlier this week about Jakob Poeltl. And since I said that, since there was a little bit of criticism, he's actually played a lot better. He in the game against the Bulls, he had like 20 points and double digits on the rebounds as well. So, it's just as important. I'm very critical of the big men, especially like Rudy Gobert or Draymond Green. It's great that you do the blocks, the rebounds, like all those things are incredibly important, but you got to be able to put the ball through the hoop. That's the point of the game.
Yeah, and his points per game is very low. Like, he had a great year in Detroit last year, like pretty darn good year. I know you're coming off like an injury, I think, near the end of last year, but you got to produce better than this, or you're going to get bodied by other big men like Joel Embiid, Jokic, Gobert. It's just part of the game these days.
Well, Will, thank you so much, and good luck on your games this week, and let everybody know where they can follow you.
Thank you, Megan. You guys can find me here on the NBA Carousel on Monday nights. You can find me on Thursday nights on the Sip Off, hosted by Megan Price, Jahan Phillips, and Anthony Brown. And you can also find me on the Gauntlet sometimes on Saturday nights.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Will. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Cool McCain covering the Milwaukee Bucks. What's up? What's up? I see you didn't bring the belt. Couldn't bring the belt.
Nah, not after yesterday. Not after yesterday.
Yeah,
I'm not mad about yesterday, but feel bad for Milwaukee.
What do you think it is? I mean, because I know we've talked about this a ton. Just me and you personally. Center depth. You need a big man.
Yep. Bobby Portis can play like a big, but he's not a true center.
Right.
So the problem is don't have a center. And my thing is, and I say the same thing about the Lakers, right? They don't have a center. There has to be some big men in the G League that can run and rebound. That's all you really need.
Right.
So I don't understand why you can't go and find like a young big in the G League that can run and rebound. There's got to be a couple out there. So I just don't get it. But that really hurts. A lot of times Jokic was able to kind of, have a field day yesterday, which I enjoyed watching, hence I'm a different head today. But for Milwaukee, you can't lose like that. You have to shoot better. Poor percentages from field goal percentage, poor percentages from three, not a lot of contributions outside of Giannis. A lot of other people just didn't show up. And that's been a theme throughout the season. The games that they play really well, you get the contributors from Middleton, and all those other guys. Portis has good games. All that happens. When those guys don't contribute, whether Giannis plays or not, Milwaukee doesn't win. And it's got to be better. The Cleveland game was unexcusable. And Cleveland's a good team, but Milwaukee should have won that game. Last night, you should have played better than that. I don't know if you would have made up 36 points, even if some other guys had another 5 or 10 points, but it should have been a close game. You don't go out there as a team that wants to win, back-to-back championships and be taken seriously and get blown out by a team that's missing their best 2 scorers.
Right. It definitely puts some question in the air about the validity of your championship. A lot of people were injured last year. A lot of key players were injured during the playoffs. And so I know a lot of people were like, if Milwaukee's going to win, it has to be this year. And so, I'm not that critical of them. I feel like, I feel like you guys won the championship, and that's how it goes. Injuries happen every year. Last year was a little different because it was a condensed season. And then there was weeks when you were having 5 games a week, and COVID is still rampant, but we kind of learned how to deal with it since then. So, what do you think needs to happen for the Bucks? Because you guys let Boogie Cousins go. Boogie Cousins was looking good for you guys, but it looked like y'all were making room cap-wise in order to do something before the trade deadline. Have you heard anything? Do you think anything's going to happen?
haven't heard anything. If I were them, like I was saying, I would try to go scour the G League, find a young big who can just run, play defense, and finish at the rim. And, plug them in and let's play. Plumlee, well, not Plumlee, sorry, Lopez. Lopez may be back nearer to the end of the season, possibly.
Right.
But I wouldn't hang my hat on that. The injury that he has, you're normally out for the remainder of the season with that. I think one other thing that they have to do is they have to find lineups that work well together. DiVincenzo's kind of hurt the continuity, right? Because they keep trying to throw him in with different lineups and it doesn't always work. Okay. So I think you have to figure out the right lineups to play. If you're going to have Giannis out, you have to have Bobby Portis on the floor. There cannot be a situation where neither one of those guys are on the floor. You cannot play small ball.
Right.
It does not. Yeah. So they have to find ways to manufacture some minutes where maybe you play Giannis at the 5, maybe you play Portis at the 5, and manufacture rebounds. They are horrible at. I mean, the stats look good, but when you actually watch the games, they do not rebound anywhere near where they should. They have to They have to nail that down. They allow too many second chance shots at times, and they don't play consistent. Like they don't have the same fire, the same vigor every week. You watch some games, you're like, oh yeah, that's the Bucks team that won a championship. You watch some games, you're like, those guys may not be the playoffs. Right. Yeah. And you have to be more towards that side of that's the Bucks team that won a championship. For me, Giannis won on a bad knee, right? So a lot of people like to talk about all the other players. Giannis had a bad knee. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget DiVincenzo was not there, and he was a critical piece of the team until he got injured. So while teams want to make that excuse for Milwaukee as to why they won, or the pundits and fans of other teams and things, think about the fact that they weren't 100% either. Right. Yeah. So they had to go out there and play with their best player injured. They had to have other guys step up, and they did at that time. But they just have to be more consistent. You're supposed to have a big 3 in Milwaukee. A lot of times it looks like a big 1, maybe a big 2. Right. You have to have Middleton. You have to have Holiday give you at least 15 points, and do some other things. You have to. It has to be a group effort. It can't be Giannis versus the world. It has to be the team.
Agree. So coming up this week, you guys have the Wizards tomorrow, Portland on Saturday, and the Clippers on Sunday. Obviously, the Wizards is probably going to be an interesting game for you guys. They're within your conference, and Portland. What can we say about Portland? They don't look the same without Dame, and that's not surprising. You know what I mean? I think any team Dame would be on, they're not going to look the same without him. Now they have, they do have Anthony Simmons, who has stepped up and looks good. You know what I mean? He really good. Does. CJ McCollum is back, and so they have some of their pieces, but they're not.
They're not Dame.
They're so similar to the Spurs for me, as far as they're really decent, but they're not a good team, and they're definitely not a great team. Right. So I would say Wizards is probably the toughest game this week. But what do you expect out of these 3 games?
I expect them at some point to turn the switch on. I expect other guys to step up. The rotations need to be cleaner. The coaches got to figure out the right people to play together. Pat Connaughton has not been the same since DiVincenzo came back. Mm-hmm. That's a negative. That's a huge negative because he was a big part of the championship run. You're kind of moving people in different positions that they weren't playing, trying to make room for DiVincenzo. What you should be doing is DiVincenzo should be put in, and you're making room for the players that have been playing the positions that they've been playing. So again, I mean, we said even last year when they won the championship, even after they won the championship, to me, weakest coach in the top 4 or 5 teams. So that's going to always be a little bit of a hindrance.
That's where I was going to go with this, actually. Do you feel like this is coaching? Because I know rotations and adjusting is something that we all were critical of Budenholzer last season, and now he still managed to win. But, personally, I said that was kind of in spite of Budenholzer. And so do you feel like that's what's happening right now?
Yes. Yeah, I just don't think he's not a horrible coach. Right. But I don't feel like he's a coach that really can take you consistently deep in the playoffs. He kind of saved himself last year with the championship, improbable championship run. But I think at some point you have to look and say, if we really want this team to maximize the next 5 years or so, when Drew's still able to be at least the third best guy, Chris Middleton's still able to do what he can do, and Giannis is still kind of that top 5 player.
Right.
I would say top 3, but I'll just be modest and say top 5.
Right.
You have to get a coach in that's going to be able to use the pieces correctly. That's going to be able to identify and say, if I'm going to put Giannis in, I need to put him in with this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. This guy gets tired, and I got to take him out. Let me put this guy in. If I put this guy in, it could take some of the offensive or defensive burden off Giannis. So even though he's on the court, he can just focus on one thing. And those are the type of things that's not happening in Milwaukee at the current time. And I do believe that that's all Budenholzer. And I think you're going to see them within the course of the remainder of the season probably lose 4 or 5 games they shouldn't because of coaching.
Okay.
And hopefully that 4 or 5 games doesn't knock them out of being able to be like a top 1-2 seed, because you really want to have home court throughout the early rounds of the playoffs. And right now we're in 5th place is not home court in any round. So
and then when you're playing the other 5 seed like the Nuggets, and then y'all lose by 36 points, that's just atrocious.
Yeah
It's going to happen. And I've seen several blowouts this season. So, and it happens, and you're just kind of wondering, like, what's going on. But good luck on your game.
Definitely wrong time of year for that. You got to tighten up.
Go ahead and let us know where we can find you, where we can follow you, and good luck on your games this week.
Well, as you can see, at Real Play Callers on Twitter. Definitely check it out and sign up for us there. You can also follow us on Instagram. Play Caller Sports Talk Show. Of course, on Friday nights, Interactive Sports Talk, playcallersportstalk.com. Thursday nights, you can always catch me on the Sip Off, like 99% of the time. And that's pretty much it.
All right. Thanks, Cool. We will see you next week.
Out.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Steve Shawanda covering the Golden State Warriors. What's up, Steve?
Hey, Megan, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm well, doing good.
Awesome. So you guys had a good week last week. Looks like y'all went 3-0. And you played a Brooklyn Nets team with Kyrie. Was Harden in that game as well?
Harden did not play. And Kyrie played really well. Led a 20-4 run in the third quarter to get back in the game. I think he finished with 31, 32, something like that. 32. He had 32 and 7 assists. He played really well. He did all he could. Both Clay and Steph shot horribly the first 3 quarters, and then in the fourth quarter when it mattered, they just did normal Clay and Steph things. The Warriors have won 5 in a row. Obviously they got Houston right now, which I'm watching right now, and then they got your Spurs tomorrow before they have the Kings at home on Thursday. So, kind of an important week to continue the momentum going a little bit. Draymond is still out, and got to meet with a specialist here in the next day or two to see what a timetable for him. Obviously, it's a big loss for them. They need to get him back.
Right.
Ildala's, is been out the last couple of games. Otto Porter Jr. is not playing tonight. He's got to rest with just normal load management from injury rest for him. So they're not 100% by any stretch of the imagination, but obviously they're still doing some good things, doing what they need to do. Nice balanced scoring against the Nets with Wiggins, had 24, but then Steph had 19, Clay had 16, 17. So it was a nice kind of team effort. Porter had 16 Saturday night. So, it was a nice team effort, good win. And then you got your Texas Step here back-to-back here tonight and tomorrow night.
Right.
You want to obviously, because both teams obviously are not where they want to be. Though the Rockets actually, they've been playing hard. The Warriors actually started the game up. Absolutely. You never, especially in San Antonio, you never just circle that as a win. You have to play well. You have to show up. You have to play well. But tonight the Warriors started the game up 10-0, and then the Rockets came kind of like a 17-3 run or whatever, and came all the way back and took the lead. It's kind of been back and forth now. It's like 25-23, but the Rockets are, they're young and athletic enough to, give you a hard time when they played about a week and a half ago, and it needed a Steph Curry buzzer beater to win the game. So, they've been improving, that's for sure. So, definitely, and it's the NBA, so there's no, nobody could just show up and win. You got to play well.
Right.
Obviously, they're all professionals. So, but yeah, big week. But biggest thing is, they got to get Draymond back. Iguodala helps a lot, but as long as he's back for the playoffs, it's fine. But yeah, I got to get Draymond back. And we'll see if White ever comes back. It's just, it's still obviously still waiting on him. And
right.
So I think they're not going to do anything before the trade deadline. I think they're going to stay pat and just hope that they get their own guys back. But they do have some assets to move if they so choose. So
right.
we'll see. If they get Turner or Sabonis from Indiana, I'd be ecstatic. As long as they didn't have to give up, both of their lottery picks from this year. They only give up one. Okay.
Right. Yeah. They I like Miles Turner a lot. Obviously I would love to have Sabonis on my team, but I think Miles Turner would be a good fit in San Antonio. I think he's somebody that could step in. But I was critical. I was saying this to Will. I was critical of Jakob Poeltl, and then in that game against the Bulls, he had a huge game and really stepped up some of the points. And that's where I was critical, because he gets the blocks, he gets the rebounds. You feel his presence there, but he's just not that big man. And what we're used to is, we had Tim Duncan for so long. So, we're used to the points too. And then Jakob kind of stepped it up, but I would love to have a little bit of a bigger name right there at the 5. And I think Miles Turner could be that. I think Popovich could bring a lot out of him.
Yeah. I and cool mentioned this about, the Bucks just needing somebody who can run and defend, run rim to rim and defend and rebound. And that's really what, you really have two types of bigs now in the NBA. You have the guys that are just pick and pop, and want to shoot threes, and then you basically have your just, they're just there for defensive rebounding.
Right.
Kevon Looney, technically plays center for the Warriors, and there's games where he doesn't even attempt a shot. That's how limited that in their offensive plans. Hey, if you get a rebound and a put back, good for you, but obviously they're not going to run a play for him. And I love old. Before Duncan, you had David Robinson. So I loved. Growing up, when you had Olajuwon and Ewing and Robinson and Shaq and those guys down low, and teams did get a lot of post touches, and obviously they were slower games and grinded out games, all that stuff. And obviously, thanks to Steph Curry, the game has changed so much, and we now shoot 45 threes a game instead of get 25 post touches a game. But I think, especially in the playoffs, there's absolutely still a place to be able to say, hey, you know what? We're just going to post you up. We're going to give you the ball, and you're going to go get us a bucket. And especially in the playoffs, you need to do that. You need to have someone who can score in the post, whether it's a 7-foot center or even if it's a 6'4" guard. Taking a point guard post and inverting your guards and posting up your point guard and going to work. But at least somebody who can score in the paint is still valuable, but especially in the playoffs. So. Yeah, I think, Miles Turner would be outstanding. And I agree with you. I think he's someone who, I don't think he could never be the best player on a championship team, but I definitely think he could be the number 2 option on a really good championship team.
With DeJounte, we don't really need him to be the best player on the team.
Right.
But like you said, that number 2 option, that would be great. But you know what? If Jakob keeps playing the way he's playing, then I guess we're fine.
Yeah. But I think either way, I think Indiana is going to definitely try to move probably both of those guys before. Well, we got about 2 weeks now. We're
coming 10
up.
Days out. We're 10 days out.
So it's coming up quick. So I'm sure they're going to try to do something. And really anybody, if you're not going to make the playoffs, anybody with an expiring contract, you should, if you're not content to try to move, at least get something for them. If it's a second round pick, or if the, a player that you can, a younger player that you can, look at, you should try to get at least something for them.
Right. Absolutely agree. One other game that I wanted to touch on, a team that was hot at the time, they were I think they were 11-1 ever since Luka had came back. You guys, his bench decided to blow him out to the Mavs, 130 to 90 earlier in the week. I was so impressed with Kuminga And man, Jordan Poole is just so amazing to watch, which I know we've been watching this all season long, but him coming off the bench because Clay was there, and he just kept that energy going and going. Like he may only had 17 points, which I mean that's still really good.
Yeah.
But it's not one of those where he had like 30 points or standout performance like that. But they were clutch shots. They were important shots. And I mean, but 130 to 92, goodness.
Yeah. And that's funny that I talked about that last week, that the Warriors have struggled against that. And Steph had a tough game, the first game against them too. And so it was kind of a game that I was a little bit worried about. And you're right. They came, just annihilated Dallas, and which was obviously great to see because Dallas was kind of playing the way that I think a lot of people thought they might play all year. They've been playing that way of late. But yeah, Jordan Poole obviously has been great. And he's a poster child for the G League, somebody who, he wasn't a top, wasn't a lottery pick. There wasn't any, pop in circumstance when he was select, and had to go the G League route, do a couple 10 days, and then eventually now you find a spot. And yeah, he's been playing so great. And then obviously Clay comes back and now he's not starting anymore. But when you can get 12 to 17 points from him, when, he's your fourth option at best, your fifth, maybe your sixth. So yeah, when you have that as coming off the bench and you're going to play, 22, 20, 25 minutes a game and score 17 points. And that's the thing. And he's going to get open looks because I don't care if, Steph and Clay go 1 for 40, you're still not going to leave them open. So they're still always going to, watch Steph and Clay. So, Jordan Poole's going to get open looks, Porter, Kuminga, who's been great, Moody. I mean, all those Damian Lee, like all those guys, and really they're a complete team. They really are. They have a lot of depth. And that's the thing. And, you have Iguodala, Wiseman, Draymond, all out right now. Those are three guys that would have been in your rotation, and obviously Draymond, Wiseman would start if they're healthy, so you got, basically you have two starters out right now, plus a maybe your sixth or seventh man out. So for the fact that they're still rolling 1-5 in a row is definitely a positive sign, but they are in a dogfight right now against Houston. So they need to, pull away.
They need to get it together, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to the game. I look forward to playing you guys tomorrow. Good luck on your games, except for that one.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna have me on next week only if the Spurs win tomorrow, and if they don't, then you won't, right?
No, we will always have space for you, but definitely we may kind of keep it light if we lose. But good luck on your games this week, and let everybody know where they can find you.
Absolutely, easiest way, obviously, every Monday right here with Megan, which at first I thought that was the Dennis Rodman jersey, but I know that it's not. But when I saw the Spurs 10, I know, I'm like, oh, it's DeMar. When I saw the Spurs 10, I was like, oh, paying homage to my boy Rodman. I almost threw on my Pistons Rodman jersey when I saw that, but I knew it was DeMar. I was just, but yeah, right here on the NBA Carousel with the hostess with the mostest, Megan Price, and then just on Twitter, All Eyes on You Hoops, or SMan1720, but easiest is All Eyes on You Hoops, and we'll see you soon, Megan. Good luck tomorrow.
Oh, thanks. Good luck to you as well. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Jay Nelson covering the Houston Rockets, and very fitting that you are right behind Steve because y'all are playing each other.
Shout out to Steve Shawanda. That's my man, 50 grand. But tonight we ain't friends.
What's the score?
Last I checked, the Rockets were up 2. I actually was getting a few last-minute notes down. I know we started out like they came out running 10-0, and then I was getting prepared and everything, and then I saw that we were only down 2 points. It's in the second quarter. It was in the second quarter with about 2 minutes remaining. So the Rockets have made it the game so far, but you know how I've always said on here, like we can't just play ball for 3 quarters. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, completely agree. And that's something that happened with the Spurs last night. Like we were down, I think 13. We made a run, and then just had a couple of plays that broke down there in that fourth quarter. Or we probably could have taken it to overtime. Now, I'm not saying we would have won, but we might have been able to take it to that next level and put another 5 minutes up there.
Right, absolutely. It's just the biggest problem I've seen is just like finishing games. It goes for both of our teams. You know what I mean? But speaking of which, go ahead and get it out the way. Get on my head for 30 seconds because I know you got some bragging rights because last time we got you, but now you got us.
Yeah, it was a blowout. I'm not going to give it to you too tough. It felt good as a Spurs fan because we're at 19 wins right now. So anytime we catch a win, it's like, whoo, yes,
Right.
like we don't have a ton of wins. We are 7 wins away from Pop getting the record.
Okay.
So there's 6 games for him tying it, and then 7 games he'll take the record for most wins of all time. Nice. So anytime we catch a win, I'm like, ooh, we're getting closer. He did personally say that it's not something that he really thinks about. It's only something that the media brings up. Right. I'm sure he would rather be having a winning season compared to hitting a record like that. But right. With Becky leaving, I think we're going to see Pop for a while. Like, I think he's going to continue on for at least probably 2 or 3 more seasons. And if not further, it's all on him and what he decides he wants to do. I love what DeJounte Murray is doing.
Yes.
That right there is kind of saving our team. Now there have been some other pieces that are really stepping up, and Keldon Johnson, and like I was talking about, Jakob Poeltl has kind of stepped up over the last week. Doug McDermott too. Nice fill-in presence.
I was actually about to touch on that as far as that game goes. And by the way, alluding to your Pop point, he actually made it a lot further than, because I don't know if you recall, but I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago, his wife had just passed away, and he was like, yo, I got 1 more season. I'm gonna coach the Olympic team, and then that's it. And then he was just like, no, I'm not going anywhere, So, but with the game last week, I mean, and speaking of DeJounte Murray, he had a double-double. He had 19 and 10. Dan Johnson, he had 16 points. He had 4 rebounds. Christian Wood had 15 points and 7 rebounds. So they actually held him to under 10. That was huge. Right. KPJ had 16 and 9 assists. KMJ had 13, Sengun had 14, Christopher had 13, all off the bench. But probably the one thing that killed us was the Spurs had 4 players apiece, starting and bench, in double figures.
Yeah, and then another one that has been kind of like an up-and-coming shining star for us is Devon Vasel. He was our first-round draft pick last year.
He had 18, and I was like, who is he?
He's from FSU. And that was that year. His team, he got drafted right after when the country shut down. And then so he was part of that FSU team that everybody thought was going to win the tournament. And, so we didn't get to see that come to fruition or anything like that, unfortunately. But I think he's an excellent fit for us. And he has some games that he starts, but I think he works better coming off the bench personally. But he's a deadly 3-point shooter.
That actually is not a bad look because FSU low-key got some ballers. And I've seen this within the last 10 years. They have, and I know it's the ACC, it's always going to be like the Dukes and the North Carolinas. But Florida State's got some ballers. So, I mean, it makes sense now. You're like, he's a Seminole. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
now I see what you need to go get a few more of them. So we need some of them.
Definitely. So what do you think needs to happen in order for you guys to win tonight?
In order to win tonight, keep the ball out of Curry's hands. I know that is a tall order, but especially down the stretch. Mm-hmm. The crazy part is the last game, if Curry didn't hit that game winner, he only would have had 19, which is pedestrian by Curry standards, right?
Right, yeah.
And that was only his 4th made 3 of the night. And that was just and I get it because I said Curry was my MVP, and then I started looking at Embiid some more, and I'm like, man, to me it's like this. Right. You see what I mean? And I can see the case for Embiid because he's doing it with no true number 2, Right. Whereas Curry, I mean, he's being Curry. And even on a slow night, he made the shot at the time. Right, so that screams MVP as well, But in order for us to win, we just got to finish. We just have to finish, and we can't run out of gas. I've seen this with Rockets teams of the past versus Golden State in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. We'll hang with them, and then we'll run out of fuel right at the 4th quarter or with 5 minutes remaining. We'll have a 10-point lead. Golden State can erase that in 2.5 seconds. and then that's it. And we go from being, and that's the thing with Golden State, because they can literally go from being down 13 to up 20 in a span of 3 minutes.
Right.
You see, so I mean, they've always just been that rapid fire team, and in order for us to, it's gonna take defense definitely, which was something that your and my favorite D'Antoni did not believe in.
Right.
But it's gonna take defense, whatever it is, to get the ball out of Curry's hands, make someone else shoot the three. And I get it, they are a 3-point shooting team, but put it in someone else's hands but Curry. Because you put it in Curry's hands, those chances go through the roof because you see how he fires the rock. But you put it in someone else's hands, you might got a shot that they missed. You may get a turnover. I mean, who knows? But Houston needs to hang with them. They need to hang with them, and they need to close it out. We got the young superstars to do it. We had them on the ropes the other night, and then they literally hit a last-second shot. So, and this is the hapless Rockets against Golden State. So, you got to think. And it actually raises one question, is that close win by Golden State, against us, or even if they would have lost, would that say a lot about, the Rockets are in better shape than we thought we were? Or is that an indictment on Golden State?
I actually think that says more about the Rockets personally. I feel like because there's a lot of games where y'all and your win-loss record is just not going to reflect this, but they're close games.
Yes.
And like you say, so it's just a breakdown in that fourth quarter. So for me, that says more about the Rockets, because every good team is going to drop games. It's just going to happen. They're not going to win all of them. So there's going to be some. And, we have another chance for another Spurs matchup again. We play again this Friday. It will be in San Antonio. Right. So it's a little rough for you guys.
Yeah. Well, we did win in San Antonio the last one we won.
Right. So we will be able to talk about this again next week, and just let everybody know where they can find you, and good luck on your games this week, except for Friday.
Except for Friday. I knew you was going to say that. All right, NBA Carousel, Houston Rockets rep every Monday. Hosted by Megan Price, produced by J.B. Shout out to him. Shout out to Jennifer Matthews-Lewis for having me on. Also, the Sip Off on Thursdays, hosted by Megan Price, Bohani Jones Phillips, and Anthony Brown, A.B. Brown, and also, of course, the Gauntlet Podcast. This Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is the Honor Show. I just put up the tweets on Twitter and the Facebook post, so please go on there and weigh in and vote. We've got different categories. We've got who you think the MVP should be. We've also got offensive breakout young star, rising star. Defensive breakout rising star. It's going to be a fun show, y'all. We're approaching the end of the season, so it's time for the award show. We're going to be giving honors to some folks based on your vote. So please tune in and weigh in on that. That's going to be hosted by myself, Dom DeRubis, Tyler Ingram, and James Tatum. Shout out Craig Davis, Marshall Hill. Thanks for having me on. And for Horseman, let's go.
Thank you so much, Jay. We'll see you next week. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Tyler Ingram covering the Chicago Bulls. What's up, Tyler?
What's up? How you doing? I figured, for this show, because I'm always wearing Bulls gear, so I figure I'll go Bulls gear, and then I'll rock the Chicago Sky, too. So a little bit of Chicago basketball going today.
So exciting. Tomorrow is the opening of WNBA free agency. Now, we have heard of some contracts. There was a couple of trades that have happened over the last couple of days. But officially, it starts tomorrow. And if you get a chance, the whole ESPN crew, ESPN2 crew, LaChina, Rebecca Lobo, everybody's going to be doing their show tomorrow at 5 Eastern on ESPN2 to cover the WNBA free agency. So I know you guys ended up actually losing Stephanie Dolson to the New York Liberty. So I know that hurts, but yeah, I think your guys are still going to be able to maintain a championship level team. Just concerned about what's going to happen with Quigley.
Well, I will say I did hear a rumor that Emma Mieseman could be in the running for the Sky, so that's really intriguing to me. Right, I like that. I like the idea of her coming over. I think she would actually fit in quite well. So we'll monitor that. But I think the Sky. I think James Wade would definitely have a trick up his sleeve in this free agency.
Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Bulls.
Yeah.
Now I wore this shirt specifically because DeMar came to San Antonio, his first time back in San Antonio, and we did a tribute video to him. I thought it was really sweet. It was great to have him back. Excellent game. Really close the entire time.
Yeah, hats off to the Spurs. That was actually the only loss the Bulls had last week. Was to San Antonio, and what Murray did in that game. I mean, 29 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds, nearly a triple-double. Murray was spectacular. Johnson, 23 points, 8 rebounds. You talked about Jakob Poeltl and how he's been this season. He had a good game as well. So, yeah, hats off to the Spurs. They really came to play that game, and I'm seeing progression with your San Antonio Spurs as this season is going.
It feels like, all season long, there were a lot of games that we've had so far that were close. And, like I was saying, that our win-loss record is just not going to reflect that. And so this kind of felt like, we were able to go in and fight. Now, you guys are short a guy also, or a couple guys. You don't have Lonzo Ball right now. So it wasn't us playing y'all at full force. Do you think anything's going to happen for you guys for the trade deadline? We're 10 days out.
So that's interesting. It definitely hurts when you don't have two of your, rotation players out. Obviously, Alex Caruso's out. We all know about that, Grayson Allen blow that happened to his wrist. So he's out 6 to 8 weeks. And then you got Lonzo Ball with that torn meniscus, and he's out 6 to 8 weeks. All right. So as far as the targets go, like Couch Coach, also a Bulls fan, he brought up Jeremy Grant. I think Jeremy Grant's probably going to take too much for us to trade for. Like, I don't really want to give up Patrick Williams for Jeremy Grant, because what happens down the road if Patrick Williams really shows out, right? I think the Bulls might eat their way at that. So there's some other options, and I think these are more budget-conscious options that I think the Bulls should go after. I think Dorian Finney-Smith is one. I think, the way he plays defense, he's a wing, so he's going to play defense, and he played at the Florida University under Billy Donovan. So Billy Donovan, obviously the coach of the Bulls, that's a good fit. Nicholas Batum, another one that I think would be an interesting to, take a look at. He does have good defense. You could look at Harrison Barnes, or you could look at Robert Covington as well. But I think Finney-Smith is probably my favorite just because of the chemistry he has with Billy.
Oh, I hadn't thought about Harrison Barnes, though. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of like that, but I do think Finney-Smith brings a good dynamic with, obviously he's played for that coach before, so you know what to expect, not only from the player aspect, but from the coach aspect. So I will see what happens over the next few days. Talk to me about the games you got coming up this week.
Yeah, so we play Orlando tomorrow. I think that's actually could be a sneaky game. Orlando's starting to play a little bit better basketball. Cole Anthony's really kind of coming into his own. He's looking like a really nice guard. So I think that could be a game. We play Toronto this week. Bulls have been having the Raptors numbers, even when we played them and we won this past week. Like OG Anunoby is going to get his, and Gary Trent Jr. actually had 32 points for Toronto when they played Chicago this past week. But DeRozan got 29, Levine got 23. Like, I think the same old cast to get it done there. So I think the Bulls are going to have a solid week. I think Indiana's probably the toughest, and it's not because Sabonis and Turner are out. It's just because of that whole dynamic that the Pacers and the Bulls always have these games that you never know what way it could go. Similar to like a San Antonio and a Houston situation, you just never know.
Absolutely. I do think, I don't know. I think the Raptors is going to be the tougher game, honestly. I know you said that that you guys kind of have them figured out, maybe, but I think they're kind of hit their stride as well. I'm a huge Gary Trent Jr. fan.
Yeah, he's coming into his own right now.
Well, and I don't think Portland should have moved him. That just kind of my opinion. Who did they get in return? Powell, I think is who they got in return for that.
Well, okay, I don't want to leak anything because I guess I'm not leaking anything, but anyone that knows me knows that I went to high school with CJ McCollum. Don't be surprised if Portland is moving CJ McCollum at the deadline is the big deal this year.
Interesting. All right. Well, good luck on your games this week, and go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you and they can follow you.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can catch me here on the NBA Carousel, hosted by Megan Price on Monday nights. You guys can also catch us on the Sip Off, hosted by Megan Price, Anthony Brown, Jahan Phillips on Thursday nights. And then you guys could catch us on the Gauntlet Saturday nights. As Jay alluded to, we are doing an honors award show. It's really cool. It's a cool theme that we're having. We got a bunch of awards that you can vote on. So please vote on those because it really does help us out. And make sure to tune in to the Gauntlet Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Part of the Sideline Sports Network, hosted by myself, Dom DeRubis, Jay Nelson, and of course, James Tatum. Peace, y'all.
Thanks, Tyler. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move over to our next rep. We have Dom DeRubis covering the Detroit Pistons. Hey, Dom.
Yo.
How are you?
I mean, it's not an NFL show, but I'm ecstatic. Thank you, Matt Stafford. Thank you, Joe Burrow.
It's like I saw a meme that said, they have Eminem performing, and then they have Matt Stafford in the Super Bowl. So
the
closest Lions fans get
closest we'll get to a Super Bowl. It's fine.
Well, it's still exciting, and like you told us all these years that Stafford wasn't the problem.
Sure wasn't.
Absolutely. So
shout out to you, J.B. Ellis.
All right, so let's talk about your Pistons. You guys got a win against the Cavaliers yesterday. That's huge. Cavaliers are hot. Now, they're not the best team in the East, but they're in the top 5.
Backwards. Okay.
Cade
had a triple-double.
Cade had a triple-double. And Sadiq Bey, that combo right there. Like, they had big games. 31 points. Yeah, talk to me about that game.
Well, as we alluded to, Cade had a triple-double. That's the kind of, as great of a scorer as he is, he's better served to himself and our team as an all-around player. Like, if he wanted to go out and put up numbers similar to that, 28 and 8 on a nightly basis and let Sadiq Bey be the scorer, at least when he's hot, like, that's the difference between, a shooter, like a taller dude like Cade playing the 2, whereas clearly he's best served playing point. And like, he didn't have a great shooting night, but he had 10 assists and 10 boards. Like, he doesn't need to be the guy every night. And I think he's starting to understand that. And it's great. I mean, he literally, like I've been saying for months, like, I see at least minor improvements every single night, like play to play, quarter to quarter. Like, some nights he's just not going to have it. He's a rookie. He's going to be inconsistent, but I'm happy with it.
Absolutely. And I know you had questions whenever the draft rolled around. You're like, I'm not sure if I do want Cade. I know he's great, but is he going to fit? We already have guards. But he's absolutely looking great with you guys. Similar to, you remember when Harden moved over to Brooklyn and Kyrie and him worked it out to where Kyrie was going to be the shooting guard, Harden was going to be the 1. And that when they were all there together like that, like how much better they looked with Harden, who's an excellent shooter, but being the 1, it actually worked out better that way.
Brooklyn looks great on paper and when they're fully healthy and when Kyrie is actually playing.
All right. So earlier in the week on Friday, you guys played the Magic. Close game. Magic got 119. You guys had 103. And then you played the Nuggets on Tuesday. That was a close game. Nuggets had 110. You guys had 105. What do you think happened in that game?
The Magic game or the Nuggets game?
The Nuggets game.
Well, the first thing that happened was Cade having a better stat line game than any rookie ever since Michael Jordan, and got zero mention of it from anyone on TNT. Yeah, on TNT until Candace Parker works for them, right?
Yeah, she does.
She was the one that came out right after the clip was over and was basically like, I'm disappointed in the producers. Cade just had a Michael Jordan, no rookie since Michael Jordan, 34, 8, and 8. Not LeBron, not Kobe. Granted, Kobe didn't start that much when he was young. And not that I would ever necessarily expect, 8 rebounds from Ja, but Ja never had a 34, 8, and 8 game as a rookie.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, it's exciting for you guys just because it's been so abysmal for a while, so there's some hope over there.
Jokic killed us. That's what it was.
Yeah. You think
28, 21, and 9. 21 boards and 9 assists. But sometimes it'd be like that when you're playing an MVP.
Right. Well, and I think the rest of that comment that Candace made was she shouted out the Chicago Bulls rookie as well. I don't want to butcher his name. I know it's Ayo I don't know.
That guy.
We know who I'm talking about, right?
We know.
Okay. And I love that she pointed that out. So coming up this week, though, you guys will be playing the Timberwolves, or excuse me, you will be playing
Pelicans
the Pelicans
first
tomorrow, then the Timberwolves on Thursday, Celtics on Friday, Timberwolves again on Sunday. So obviously the Celtics are kind of having their woes. I feel like that's probably maybe a winnable game for you guys. They, Jason Tatum has kind of found his shot again, but they're so inconsistent. Like just because last week was good for them doesn't mean this week is going to be good for them. So
yeah, like the Pistons, but with more overall talent and better veterans. Yeah, right. Boston, they're one game over 500. Minnesota, who we play twice, is at 500. Pelicans are 18-31. I would hope. I can't say expect. I would hope to win 2 of those games. The first 3 of those 4 are all at home. Okay. We got to be able to pull out at least 1 win on the road. Probably not Thursday and Friday because obviously those are back-to-back. But I'm saying either Pelicans or Minnesota, and then Minnesota on the road at the end of the week.
Okay. I do think Minnesota is an interesting team. They're doing better than they've done in a long time. I think, and for me personally, I know we saw Andrew Wiggins make the starters, but for me, it was Karl Anthony Towns. And I'm usually really, really critical of Karl Anthony Towns, but just stat-wise, I felt like he deserved to be there. But as we know, voting.
That was a hella snub. I like Andrew Wiggins, but I don't think Andrew Wiggins even likes Andrew Wiggins as an all-star starter.
Okay. Well, I agree.
This year, he's balling out. He's having the best season of his career, but I mean, let's be honest. If Clay's healthy all year, Andrew Wiggins is not sniffing the all-star game, even as a reserve. Absolutely. But shout out to him for balling out.
Do you think anything happens for before trade deadline for you guys?
I mean, I'm hoping they can move Jeremy Grant, but I'm losing faith. If they do anything else, it'll be so minor that it won't even. Okay. I mean, maybe I'm trying to think of. There's got to be 1 or 2 guys on an expiring contract that are just not right on the tip of my tongue, but I could see us moving 1 or 2 of them maybe for like a second round pick. Like I said, nothing to move the needle. We got to do something with Jeremy Grant.
All right. Well, good luck on your games this week, and let everybody know where they can find you and they can follow you.
Absolutely. Here on Mondays, NBA Carousel hosted by you. Thursdays, we're off season. Sip Off, 8:15 p.m. also hosted by you. And Saturdays on Philly Jim's YouTube page and the Gauntlet Sports, Sideline Sports Network. Like Tyler said, like Jay probably alluded to, we've got our awards show. Go on Twitter, go on Facebook, mine and all 3 of my hosts. Vote, engage. It's going to be a good time. Thanks.
Absolutely. We'll see you next week, Dom.
Yep.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our last rep. We have Jacob Kristner covering the Sacramento Kings.
Hey, what's going on? I see the gray hairs. Got more gray hairs than Ric Flair's marriages.
That's hilarious. Woo! Woo! So talk to me about your Kings. What's going on with you guys?
Another tough night. It's looking like they're down 11 right now. I saw a little of the game against the Knicks. Mm-hmm. And it's saying that Halliburton right now should have about 10, 12 assists. He should. They're missing open shots. But this has been the whole way all year long. And I was looking something up. And I thought this was the case, but it's really this was game 51 or something like that. 17 games had given up over 120 points.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like 3 this year, they get up 70 to 80 points at halftime. And it's like, these are the things. See, remember when I was saying to you like about 6 weeks ago or so that when you get a team that's not this good, you need a teacher? Remember when I was saying that? And they got Alvin Gentry, whatever. This is why. You need a teacher. You don't, like I said, you don't get a D'Antoni. You don't get all those other types that get the offense again. You don't get that. You got to get a teacher because they don't know how to win. Remember, they were like a half game from the 10th spot, and they haven't won since.
Right. Yeah.
They haven't won since, and it's like, and the biggest thing is they don't know how to win yet. And it's like when you have a teacher, you're teaching them how to win. You know, it's more than just the game, the X's and O's. Right now with a young team like that, you got to remember this. They gave up on the Ben Simmons. They gave up on the Ben Simmons trade. I think it was more than the Ben Simmons deal. I think it's more than that. It's like when you've got a team that's this young that says everything, and you're adding somebody else, it can be dangerous. It can be worse. But yeah, I did say they need a name, but they might need chemistry. They keep working on chemistry right now and stuff like that, especially on the defensive side, considering those 1 out of 3 are over 120 points.
Well, and we keep hearing you guys in the trade rumors, and several of your players, Halliburton, Fox, Buddy Hield has a ton of interest. A lot of people think he might end up in LA at the Lakers. Any thoughts on any of that?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if he should accept the Lakers, and that's the truth. That's the truth, because with the Lakers, what you're going to see is eventually, because I think the Lakers are tanking. I think LeBron's tanking to get rid of Vogel. And even though Vogel's got to benefit in the bubble, they're tanking to do it. What's going to happen is he's going to find out. He's going to find out real fast that it wasn't Vogel.
I agree. I don't think it's Vogel's fault. I think it's just how the team is constructed.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's a team with no chemistry, and Hield wouldn't make it any better, especially when he's on a team that's trying to learn chemistry right now. So it wouldn't help him.
Well, you have several good pieces, and some of them are up and coming pieces. Yeah. But what do you think it says when the team is talking about all these other pieces and putting them on the trade block? Like, we have good pieces, so are you trying to blow it up and start all the way over, or do you think that they're going to build around at least 1 or 2 people that are already there?
I think both. I think you're going to blow up the rest, really, which I wouldn't. I've been a coach, mentor, tutor before, that sort. I've been a volunteer coach. I've been that. See, my biggest thing is I'm the person. I'm kind of like what they something. I'll do another wrestling terminology. Dusty Rhodes. There was one saying that Dusty Rhodes, when he was at NXT, loved working with the broken toys. He didn't want it that he didn't like you being perfect. He wanted to work with the broken toys. That's what I am. And in truth, I don't know what Alvin Gentry's personality is, if he likes working with the toys or not. What he's got. But really, in the end, if I'm them, just stand pat. Just stand pat. They're going to blow it up anyway because it is 18. You are trying to get draft capital, but they're young. They're young. It's like, just stand pat, just go through the year and stuff like that. See if you can catch any chemistry as 6 in a row at the end of the year or something. Maybe 5 out of 6, something along those lines. You got to have. See, the thing about Sacramento is they never really. I told you I started this whole thing with Sacramento because of their business. There hasn't been a lot of business talk lately and stuff like that. So I've been watching the games, but there isn't. But the big thing about it is the fact they are forward thinking in business, but they don't ever get forward thinking on the court. And the biggest deal about it is they got to change their way. It's like, why would you try to go after draft capital if the same thing could happen over there if you're continuing to be young over and over and you're not winning? You got to do something a little different because it never seems to work.
I completely agree. Right now, you guys are down to the Knicks, but it's only 11 points, 68 to 57. But the rest of your week is
70 to 57. Well, the Knicks are just in their own struggle. They won their one game last year, and they thought they were going to go after the Nets.
Right. And then the rest of your week is going to be kind of tough. Bringing up the Nets, you guys play them on Wednesday. Then you play Golden State on Thursday. Then you play OKC on Saturday. So that's a possible winnable game right there. But good luck on your games, and let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you.
Before we do that, can I bring up one more thing about about Curry? Can the fans quit and the pundits quit giving up on the guy or wondering or having 10-minute, 20-minute segments on his struggles? I grew up watching the greatest struggle, and they also have. This is what an 82-game season does, and it's probably just like. I remember one time Larry Bird decided, I'm going to shoot left-handed for a game just to save my right hand for the Lakers. It was a news cycle. That's what they did on that. He did do it, 47 points, triple-double. But here, you know something? He scored probably 25% of his points in his career on his left hand. It was a media blitz.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a media blitz. This is 35 years later. It's a media blitz. We need to quit those media this because then you had Mahomes was about to give up once in the AFC title game. They're about to give up on him.
No.
We give up too much on everybody. It's like because people don't get perspective and they know they can get away with it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Jacob, and good luck on your games this week. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Well, I am here Mondays. I am also talking to Sideline. I had a couple of minor meetings with Sideline Sports about some shows we're working on, some ideas. I mean, with some. Actually, I'll just give one little secret: a possibility of an old school NBA show, talk about the old days. And there's other ideas too. And then I am also with the Substack, and I'm also with Ricochet for writing, and and I'm also with the Inscriber magazine. So I got a bunch of things going on.
All right, Jacob. Well, thank you so much, and we will see you back next week.
Not a problem.
All right,
take care.
I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. Just a quick reminder that the NBA Carousel is a Sideline Sports Network production, proudly sponsored by Score, No Score app, Manscaped, and check out the Inscriber online magazine where you can get all your culture, technology, and sports news provided by Sideline Sports. Good night, guys, and don't forget about WNBA free agency starts tomorrow.